increasing fire and criticism for his unbelievable pardon of Hunter Biden. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, the pressure, the blowback really is growing and growing and growing. And now it threatens to consume what is left of Joe Biden's presidency and, frankly, his entire legacy. Now, look, you know the Kuhner man. You know what we've been about for the last, not just the last 4 years, but the last 10 years. So you know my feelings on Joe Biden, the swamp, the uniparty, and the ruling class, and how corrupt so many of these politicians are, led by Joey himself. So I'm not shocked by any of these revelations. You're not shocked by any of these revelations. But there is now no question the dam has broken for Joe Biden. The fallout now, it was bad yesterday. It's getting even worse. By yesterday morning, it was pretty obvious there was some pretty serious fallout. But over the last 24 hours, many Democrats now are coming out slamming Joe Biden. Many of his staunchest allies in the media are slamming Joe Biden. It is now, as I said, the dam is now starting to break. And what to me is remarkable about everything now that's developed over the last 48 to 72 hours is this pardon, which is to me disgraceful. In fact, as I said on X, and I want to repeat it again here, this was a clear abuse of Joe Biden's pardon powers. It is a grotesque abuse and miscarriage and travesty of justice. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He had no right to issue a pardon against his own, regarding his own son. He had no right to pardon his own son. Never in the history of the United States has a president of the United States pardoned a son or daughter. And what is most stunning about the pardon, and this is now legal experts are weighing in, whether it's conservative, liberal, centrist, it doesn't matter, right, left, in the middle, everybody now agrees. With the possible exception of Gerald Ford's pardon of Richard Nixon, with that one possible exception. And remember, Nixon was president. Nixon was elected to 2 terms. He didn't serve out his second term, but he won re-election in a massive landslide in 1972. So, and you had Watergate and how it tore the country apart, and there were many extenuating circumstances. Outside of what Gerald Ford did by pardoning Nixon, never has there been such a sweeping, unconditional, blanket pardon as what Joe Biden did Sunday night with his son, Hunter. This is what is shocking to so many people who now begin to digest and process what was done. And as we talked about on yesterday's show, but it bears repeating, this pardon doesn't just pardon Hunter for specific convictions and crimes. Take, for example, the felony gun charges, which, by the way, he was found guilty of by a jury. The jury looked at everything and said, guilty, guilty, guilty. Or the tax evasion, the tax fraud charges, which Hunter himself pled guilty to. So the man is guilty of sin. But it's not just that this is and this is the way some in the media are trying to portray this. Oh, this is about a loving father. It's his son. Oh my God, the tragedy of the Bidens. He lost his first wife in a car accident and a daughter. And then, of course, there was Beau. And now his son under the scourge of addiction. And he committed these crimes. He just couldn't see his son go to prison. Wouldn't any father understand? No. This doesn't just pardon him for the felony gun and tax crimes. This pardons Hunter Biden for any possible crime, including murder. Literally. Dating all the way back to January 1st, 2014. And as I said yesterday, but again, this also bears repeating because it gets to the heart of the matter. Why did Joe Biden pick January 1st, 2014? Why did he backdate the pardon going back over a decade? And remember, the pardon says for any crimes, any possible crimes, whether they actually happened or didn't happen. Basically, he's pardoning him for anything. He could have raped someone, pardoned. Murder someone, pardoned. It doesn't matter. The reason is simple. Because it was in January of 2014 that Joe Biden joined the board of Burisma. And that's when he began to take in $1 million a year, over $86,000 a month, to sit on a board of a natural oil gas company in which Hunter Biden had zero experience regarding oil and natural gas. Moreover, didn't speak a single word of Ukrainian. Now, you may say, Jeff. Well, what does that have to do with anything? The board meetings were conducted in Ukrainian. By the way, most people who sat on the board received hardly any compensation. They got paid maybe 100 rubles. He was the only one that was paid $1 million. And why was he paid $1 million and more? We're fine. This is just the initial payments. Why? What did they get for their money? I'll tell you what they got for their money. When the U.S. State Department put Burisma on a list of sanctions because of the corruption, because of the bribery, because of all the allegations swirling around that company and its oligarch who controlled it, who do you think made the call to the State Department and said, leave Burisma alone? You guessed it, Hunter Biden. That's what being on the board got Burisma. And that's why Hunter was picked. Now, this is not an original point on the part of the Kuhner man, but it needs to be said. This pardon on Sunday night is not about Hunter Biden. It isn't. I want you to just stand back objectively, okay? I'm just giving you the facts. By Hunter's own admission, in his own memoir, I'm going now by his own memoir and his own words, he is a barely functioning adult. He is a man who spent most of his life snorting cocaine off the rear ends of prostitutes. He has no skills. He has nothing to offer. He never worked for a company that actually produced a genuine product or service. And yet he raked in, just by himself, over $20 million for the Biden crime family. Why were all these companies putting him on the board? Why were all these companies, quote unquote, doing business with Hunter Biden? This is a man who literally could barely function, who, as he himself said, for months and months at a time, couldn't even get out of his own apartment, who was partying day and night, blowing millions on Russian escorts, on crack, on cocaine, on booze, going to sex clubs. I mean, this guy just partied day and night. He had one thing to sell, and that was access to Joe. That was his job. He was the barely competent bagman for Joe Biden. And whether it was Ukrainian oligarchs, Chinese oligarchs tied directly to the Communist Party in Beijing, whether it was Kazakhstan, whether it was Russian oligarchs, whether it was Romanian oligarchs, the money flowed to the entire Biden crime family. And according to a devastating report by the House Oversight Committee, all of you need to hear this, Joe Biden didn't just use Hunter. He didn't even just use his brothers, Frankie and Jimmy. He literally used his own granddaughter. Joe Biden engaged in a shell game where different sources of money from foreign governments and foreign entities poured into the Biden bank accounts, and then they transferred the money to granddaughters, to grandchildren, to uncles, to brothers, to Hunter. They just kept transferring the money around. And that's why Hunter wasn't paying taxes on most of this. This was all illicit money, ill-gotten money, treasonous money. And so by pardoning Hunter Biden, what Joe Biden really did was pardon himself. By pardoning Hunter Biden, we will never get to the truth, or at least that's what he hopes, of how the Biden crime family sold out the United States, of how Joe Biden sold out the United States to line his pockets. 620 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, look, to me, what is really standing out over the last 24 to 48 hours is that you've got Joe Biden now, who has destroyed his legacy. Now, we knew the real Joe Biden. You knew the real Joe Biden. But by doing this, first of all this talk about no one is above the law, that's finished. That's gone. Hunter Biden is above the law. Joe Biden is above the law. The Bidens are above the law. This is now obvious. In fact, as the pardon states, as the pardon, it's because it's an unconditional pardon. It's a blanket pardon for any and all crimes committed, not committed, whether he thought about them, did them, people know about it, potential crimes, actual crimes. In fact, let me just play Jonathan Turley, constitutional law professor at George Washington University. He says, no, really, I think people need to understand something. If he murdered people, this pardon covers it over that decade, that 10-year period. If he raped someone, if he possesses child pornography, if he molested a child, it's that sweeping, that unconditional, that unprecedented. This is what is shocking most legal experts. They go, usually, presidents issue pardons, but for specific crimes, charges, convictions, maybe a little wiggle room added in. But this kind of just sweeping blanket catch-all immunity, basically, Hunter could have committed war crimes starting in January 1st, 2014, all the way till December 1st, 2024. That's almost 11 years. And according to this pardon, he's fine. Nothing can happen to him. You cannot prosecute him. Now, I'm telling you, that is a grotesque abuse of the pardon power. People are saying it's legal. Is it? I'm not so sure. Now, at a minimum, it is a grotesque abuse of the pardon power. And what it shows beyond the shadow of a doubt is that he's protecting Hunter and really protecting himself from what everything is going to come out regarding Burisma, influence peddling, bribery, corruption, Ukraine, which is why we're really giving them all this money, China, and all these other countries now that bought access to Joe Biden while he was vice president and now is president. And that's the real crime. The real crime isn't the ridiculous gun charges or the tax evasion. The tax evasion is important because where did he get all this money? He's not paying taxes on anything. Millions and millions of dollars. Well, where'd you get the money from? Well, once you follow the money, it leads to one man, Joey. And that's why Joe Biden had to give his son a complete blanket pardon. He didn't pardon Hunter. He really pardoned himself. And that is an admission of guilt. And what it is an admission that he is the most corrupt, traitorous president we have ever had. Without a doubt, the most blatantly corrupt politician we've ever had. I mean, this is in your face. We stole, we looted, we embezzled, we engaged in treason, we sold our country down the river to the highest bidder, we sold access to the vice president and then the president, so the vice presidency and the presidency. And you know what? My son even is doing crack cocaine. He's selling crack cocaine. He's sleeping with underage women. That's statutory rape. And there's child pornography in there to boot. Blank you. What the hell are you going to do about this? Nothing. Nah, 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 nah. Listen now to Jonathan Turley. Roll cut 4, Mike.
The pardon question came up repeatedly, and both he and the White House were adamant that they weren't considering and would not give a pardon. And as in 2020, when he lied about his knowledge about the business dealings of his son, he was running for re-election in 2024 when he lied about his intentions on pardoning his son. Now, this is the language of this pardon is virtually unprecedented. Yes. I mean, Nixon was very, very broad, but we've never seen anything like this. He's literally pardoning his son for any crime that he may have committed during these years, everything from money laundering to murder. Now, he could obviously be charged with state offenses, but the statute of limitations have largely run on those offenses. So it's a really breathtaking act of contempt for the American people, and it has happened over and over again.
Bingo. A breathtaking level of contempt for the American people. This is a slap in the face. And this is what the Bidens really think of us. And this is a window into who and what they are. Now, let me make one last point, and I want to go to the phone lines. As I pointed out on X, okay, very quickly, Biden lied even in his pardon statement. In his pardon statement, he said the reason why his son didn't pay $1.6 million, Hunter, in taxes was because he was under the scourge of addiction. He was battling addiction, the poor guy. He was so high on crack, he didn't know what he was doing. Oh, no. By Hunter Biden's own timeline in court. This is what Hunter himself said in court. When he cheated on his taxes and evaded his taxes, he was by then clean and sober. He's a liar. 6:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull, or in this case, Hunter's bull. Okay, so the liar in chief, and that's what Joe Biden now is going to be known for forever. The pathological, incorrigible liar who kept telling us over and over and over again that he would never, I respect the jury verdict. I respect the Department of Justice. No one is above the law. No one. Well, except me. Well, except my son. Well, except my family. Well, he said he would never pardon Hunter. He said it dozens of times. And of course, what did he do? Pardon Hunter. Well, the liar even lied in his pardon. As I said just before the break, he claims that the reason why Hunter didn't pay his evade taxes, was it 1.6 million? By the way, it was millions more he didn't pay. They just went after him for the years between 2016 and 2019. So he didn't pay $1.6 million in taxes. That's what he owed the government. $1.6 million. And he said, well, it's because my son was in the throes of addiction. Poor guy. He was high on crack cocaine. According to Hunter Biden himself. By the way, and according to the IRS whistleblowers, Joseph Ziegler and Gary Shapley. Remember, they're the ones that blew the whistle on all this, saying that Biden's Department of Justice was deliberately obstructing the investigation into Hunter. They were looking to sabotage the investigation. They wanted all of this covered up. Had it not been for those two whistleblowers, none of this would have come out. Well, as Ziegler and Shapley said, they both came out and said, no, he was completely sober at the time. According to his own memoir, he was sober at the time. According to his own timeline in court, at this point, were you still doing crack and coke and getting high and stoned? No, I was then in recovery. So Biden lied even in the pardon statement. Hunter was clean and sober when he said, blank you, I'm not paying all these taxes. Now, I'm telling you, if you or I owed the feds $1.6 million in taxes and refused to pay it year after year after year after year, I'm telling you right now, we would be behind bars. You take that to the bank. So even in the pardon statement, Biden lied. Everything about this is a lie. What Joe Biden did was something that has never been done in the history of the United States. He essentially pardoned himself. And he pardoned himself to protect himself and his disgusting, corrupt crime family from much more serious charges and convictions of crimes that should land him and his family, honestly, in another age, in another time. It would land him on the electric chair. That's the real story of the Hunter Biden pardon. This was Joe pardoning himself. And this was Joe grotesquely abusing the pardon power to get away, literally, to get away with betraying and stealing from the United States of America. To me, I can't think of a bigger Benedict Arnold than this guy. Seriously. I mean, they're laughing all the way to the bank. Now, what Kash Patel needs to do, and I agree with Glenn Beck on this all the way, okay? I saw his ex, yesterday, and he said, fine, if you can't go after Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, if you can't, then release everything regarding Burisma. Just release it. Release everything regarding Ukraine. Just release it. Everything regarding China. Release it. Let the world, let the country know what the Bidens did. And any other of these other people that were involved, they didn't get pardoned. Arrest them. Convict them. Put them behind bars. But I've never, ever seen the pardon power used like this. I mean, I'm sorry, but this is beyond obscene and disgusting. The mafia don who sold America down the river pardoned himself by pardoning his bagman's son so they get away scot-free. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. Trump is 1,000% correct. This pardon now screams, begs for a cleaning house at the Department of Justice and the FBI. This has got to stop. Agree, disagree. Dave in New York. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Hey, good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Dave.
A couple quick points. We talked about this a couple months ago, and I said he would pardon him after the election. If Kamala had won, he would have had her do it. If she lost, he would have to do it. And he has to do it now because sentencing was scheduled for next week, which they had delayed the sentencing because of the election. Now, fast forward to next year. He just put Hunter in a box because with that deal, he has no Fifth Amendment. He can't use the Fifth Amendment. So you bring him before a committee, If he stonewalls or doesn't show up, well, that's contempt of Congress, which we all know, as Peter Navarro, you can go to jail for. Second thing is, you have the DOJ re-up the investigation into it. You subpoena him before a grand jury as a witness, and you interview him with the FBI. Ask him a question you know the answer to. You know he's going to lie about. Well, lying to a federal agent is also a felony. So it is going to come out. He is not protected from telling the story. He's just protected from being prosecuted for the story. Follow what I'm saying?
I follow exactly what you're saying. No, Dave, look, this is why I've been saying this now for the last 48 hours. Look, I hope Kash Patel is listening. I really do. I hope Kash is listening. Day one, after you're sworn in, okay, you get confirmed as new FBI director, you open an investigation into the Bidens right away. Right away. And you've got this brilliant, very thorough, very detailed House Oversight Committee report. It connects all the dots. It's all there. All the money that he got from Burisma, it's there. All the money from China, it's there. All the money from Romania is there. I mean, it's all there. In fact, they even know the 12 bank accounts. They know how it went into Frankie's account and Jimmy's account. What I want to know is they even got the little granddaughter involved. Dave, I swear to you, millions went into the granddaughter's account. They were playing a shell game. They just kept transferring money. Account to this account, to that account, to this account. That's what the mob does. That's why there were so many bank suspicious activity reports. So many bank red flags like, no, this is money laundering. When you're moving this kind of money to different accounts, that's clearly money laundering. So they got the 7-year-old granddaughter involved. So the basic question is, why did a foreign government send $6.5 million to your granddaughter? What services could your granddaughter, 7 years old, possibly provide to a foreign government? Could you explain this to us, Joey? Or in Hunter's case, your daughter. Could you explain to us why your daughter is, what services at 7 years old? Does this justify $6.5 million going into her account? Could you explain that? I mean, if they want, Dave, they can destroy these people rightly. And it'll be perjury. It'll be obstruction of justice. It'll be contempt. You can send these people to prison for the rest of their lives. Am I wrong, Dave?
Not at all. But I would also, any agent of any of those departments, whether it be DOJ or IRS, that impeded the original investigation need to be reprimanded, disciplined to the fullest extent, and made an example of that. There is no politics in those agencies. You do your job regardless of who you're investigating. And those people need to be made examples of, and that's another way of getting rid of the deep state.
Amen. Amen. Look, I urge everybody, Kash Patel, there's a video of him. Okay, it's about maybe 90 minutes, talking about his book, Government Gangsters. It's a great book. He does half of what he says in that book. We're going to be the luckiest people on earth. I'm telling you. And he says, look, you really want my goal? If I was to run the FBI? He goes, really, this is my goal. Remove politics out of law enforcement. He goes, it's really that simple. Remove politics out of the Department of Justice. Remove politics and political influence peddling out of the FBI. You're supposed to be career law enforcement officers. Go after bad guys. Drug dealers, murderers, rapists, child traffickers, gangsters, the mafia. You're not there to score political points or to go after political enemies. That's called a secret police. I'm with Kash Patel all the way, baby. 649 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, a couple lines are open if you want to jump on. Let me throw this out to everybody. A quick log on the fire, as I like to say. Senator Joe Manchin, he's on his way out now, Senator of West Virginia, has now suggested, in fact, he said he's personally spoken to Joe Biden about this, that because Joe pardoned Hunter, and it is such an outrageous pardon, and it has led to such a huge backlash, where even many Democrats are saying it is despicable, it destroys Joe Biden's entire legacy, it will taint him and tarnish him for the rest of his entire life and going into the history books. That what Joe Biden should do then is pardon Donald Trump. Give Trump a blanket pardon the way he gave Hunter a blanket pardon. And so this way, as a way of salvaging Biden's legacy, this is how Manchin is trying to spin it for Biden, saying, look, this way you can say, I want to end all the political warfare. I want to end all this lawfare, allegedly. So not only am I protecting my son, I'm going to be protecting Trump. And this way, let's just, ceasefire. Let's call it a truce. And let's move on and fix the business of the country. Manchin is now urging Biden to pardon Trump. Do you think Biden should pardon Trump? Now, my immediate reaction, you may agree or disagree, I'm just speaking from the heart, absolutely not. Two wrongs don't make a right. Don't try to cover up now your despicable pardon of your degenerate criminal son by trying to make it seem now you want to be bipartisan and you want the country to heal and let's all move together, move forward and sing Kumbaya and let bygones be bygones. First of all, Trump did nothing wrong. So he doesn't need a pardon, doesn't deserve a pardon. He did nothing wrong. The cases are already unraveling against him. Jack Smith has dropped the cases. The only case left is the New York case, the hush money case, Alvin Bragg. Trump is going to appeal that, and I believe he's going to win. But that's a state case anyway, so Joe Biden can't pardon him for that, even if he wanted to. So my point is, what does Trump get out of a pardon? Nothing. And you only pardon someone who's done something wrong. Trump has done nothing wrong. So why would he need a pardon? So my answer is no. If Joe Biden offers it, Trump should say no. And say, I'm sorry, I'm going to come after you. I'm going to come after Hunter. I'm going to come after your whole crime family. And if we're not able to put you behind bars, at a bare minimum, Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, the incoming Attorney General and the incoming FBI Director, God willing, if they're confirmed, we're going to blow the whistle on everything that happened in Ukraine and everything that happened with your crime family. In fact, I'm going to sick Matt Gaetz as special prosecutor, special counsel, and we're going to get to the bottom of everything that you guys did so the country and the world knows. And anybody else that's tied to it, we're going to prosecute them. We're here to clean house. We're not here to make nice. That would be my answer. But that's me. I want to hear from you. 617-266-6868 is the number. Barbara in Baltimore. Thanks for holding, Barbara, and welcome.
Good morning, and thanks for taking my call.
My
Jeff.
pleasure, Barbara.
This is a great show this morning. I'm telling you, I agree with you 100% about President Trump doesn't need a pardon. And I think that would just be an effort on Joe Biden's part to ease what's getting ready to happen. And what's getting ready to happen is what you described and your previous caller. They're not going to just, all he did was open up this big can of worms, in my opinion, because now we know, he's guilty of all that stuff from back in 2014, which makes me wonder, how much does Obama know about it? How much money did Obama get from that? Because remember what Joe Biden said. He told that guy, just call him. If they thought he wasn't going to get that, if they weren't going to get that $1.5 billion, he said, just call Obama. And so Obama knew, and I think a whole lot of houses are going to fall behind this. And I hope President Trump declines any pardon because he doesn't need one. That way he can sick the dogs on him and get that whole family, because pardoning Hunter does not pardon James, doesn't even pardon Biden. I think he could still be gone after, don't you?
Oh, I agree. No, and Barbara, just to and I promise I'll let you finish everything you want to say. But just to piggyback off of what you're saying, you're completely right. Look, it was just over 8 years ago. Okay, this is 2016. This is Trump has now won. He beat Hillary Clinton, and it's a couple of weeks after the election. So, there's a transition period. So Trump is now getting ready to become president, but Biden is still vice president. Obama is still president. And that's when Biden made his famous trip to Kyiv, to the capital of Ukraine. And that's when he told this was the president before Zelensky. His name was Petro Poroshenko. So that's when he gets on the phone with Poroshenko. And he says, Poroshenko desperately needs the money. Literally, Ukraine's lights were going to go out. They couldn't pay their bills. Poroshenko's desperate. He needs that $1.5 billion. He needs that bill. That billion is everything. And he says, well, you got to fire that prosecutor. Because the prosecutor is investigating Burisma. And that's, of course, why they put Hunter Biden on that board. And so they used their access and influence to Biden. That's where all the money, the kickbacks, they bought him. And Biden now said, okay, you're calling in your chips? I'll get this guy off your back. And he calls Poroshenko. Now, Poroshenko, to be fair to him, says, but that's an independent investigation. You don't know the oligarchs behind Burisma. They're dirty as dirty comes. He says, listen, buddy, you don't fire that prosecutor. You're not getting the $1 billion. And if you don't believe me, if you think I'm bluffing, call Obama. Call Obama. He goes, and you'll see the answer you're going to get. Now, Poroshenko didn't bother because Obama had made him point man on Ukraine. Biden point man on Ukraine. But you're completely right. So Obama knew about all of this. Biden bragged about it. And so and then he brags like an idiot in front of a crowd of people in Washington, D.C. because he can't keep his mouth shut. And that's when he said, son of a bee. 2 hours later, I get a call. And guess what? That prosecutor was fired. So it was pay to play. That's what Burisma got for its money. That's why they had Hunter on their payroll. Not for Hunter, for Joe. Now, what Joe Biden has done is he's now given his son a get-out-of-jail-free card almost forever. That's why everybody's shocked, Barbara. Look, I'm telling you, I've been covering pardons. I've been in journalism almost 35 years now, okay? Yeah, there are some really sleazy pardons, but they're for actual crimes that they were convicted of. Barbara, I swear to you, I've never seen this. I've never seen in my entire life. Where you've got somebody who's just told whatever he did, may have done, potentially done, everything under the sun, over 10 years, over a decade, on practically 11 years. You can't touch him. That's what gave the game away, Barbara. Had he just pardoned Hunter for the gun and tax charges, people would have said, well, he wants to keep his son out of jail. But when he predated it all the way to January 1st, 2014, just before Hunter became on the board of Burisma, that's when he telegraphed, we're dirty, we're corrupt, we are up to our eyeballs in foreign money, in bribery, kickbacks, money laundering, corruption, all of it is true. And now he stirred up a hornet's nest. And now I'm telling you, Trump is on a political jihad. Bondi's on a jihad. Kash Patel is on a jihad. The Republicans, at least the MAGA Republicans, are on a jihad. Now they're saying, you know what? We're going to get him. We're going to get him. By hook or by crook, we're going to get him. Final word to you, Barbara.
I agree with you 100%. I think what's going to happen is going to be beautiful. And I'll remember what Barack Obama said. We can always trust that Joe Biden will F up things. And he did, even on his way out. He has paved the way for all of them to be exposed. And they will be, because I just don't see this new administration coming in and not exposing everything to the American people.
Well, they have no choice. That's their mandate. No, you're right. No, Barbara, that's what they promised to do, is to clean out the deep state and the swamp. And what we're now finding out is this is the epicenter of the deep state and the epicenter of the swamp. And Barbara, look, I'm telling you, this is why Biden is nervous. And this is why the establishment is nervous. There's a lot of money flowing from Ukraine. It wasn't just the Bidens. Everybody had their finger in that pie. And I go back to what a senior Polish government official said. This was maybe 2 weeks ago, Barbara. Okay, 10 days, 2 weeks, don't quote me on this. But recently, he said, well, the dirty secret, Poland is adjacent to Ukraine. It's on the border with Ukraine. They've taken in millions of Ukrainian refugees. They're really helping Ukraine in their war against Russia. So the Poles know everything what's happening in Ukraine. And he came out and said, look, the dirty secret, it's an open secret. Over half the money that the Americans have sent to Ukraine has been stolen by Zelensky. And much of that has been sent back to corrupt politicians in Washington and kickbacks. That's why they don't want an audit. That's why they don't want to ask, don't ask too many questions about where the money's been going. Because Zelensky's stealing, his people around him are stealing, and the people in Washington are stealing. And by the way, I kid you not, just yesterday it broke. Biden is going to send the Ukrainians another $725 million for more drones, allegedly, and anti-personnel landmines, and more military aid. And apparently now he's pushing Congress hard to get another supplemental package to send billions more to Zelensky and the Ukrainians. While our border wide open, homeless veterans sleeping on the streets. You've got literally homeless people all across this country. No money for them. But for this Ukraine war, it never ends. So, Barbara, you're dead on. If they're serious about draining the swamp, if they're serious about taking out the deep state, if they're serious about cracking down on corruption, then they have to go after the Biden crime family. And this pardon is an admission of guilt. The moment he took it back to January 1st, 2014, ding, 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 ding. Guilty, guilty, guilty on everything. So if I'm Trump, I'm not taking, why would I take a pardon? For what? It's time to go to war, political war. And the Biden crime family is one of the top crime families that has to fall. Barbara, thank you very much for that call. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Look, I'm telling you, I've got a stack of stories. Okay? I'd rather take calls. I've got a stack of stories of how Hunter was misusing his funds and his money. He hasn't paid, forget 1.6 million. That's just what they nailed him on. This guy hasn't paid taxes on over $25 million in revenue. You got to see how this guy burned through money. It's unbelievable how this guy burned through money. How the hell can you burn through this much money? They're dirty as dirty can be, and he can be broken. And all you got to do is put him under oath. Have the FBI investigate him, and you put him under oath, and exactly as one of the previous callers said, ask him a question you know the answer to. Boom, perjury. Boom, contempt. Boom, obstruction of justice. And then you say, look, Hunter, you're not big on going to jail, are you? No. What did Frankie know? What did Jimmy know? Tell me, what did the big guy know? You want to stay out of jail? What did the big guy know? Tell us about the big guy. This thing's not over. Believe me, it's not over. Bob in Medford. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Bob.
I wanted to tell you something I've discovered while writing my book, The Camelot Murders. I was doing deep research into Pennsylvania, where Mary Jo Kopechne was born, where Joe Biden was born. It's due west of Chappaquiddick. And that was my research several years ago at a time when there was this horrific massacre out in Moscow, Idaho. And I remember thinking, this is so foreign to my perceptions of Idaho, Snow White and such nice people. And I even remember thinking it sounds more like Pennsylvania, because until you read my book, you won't know how dangerous that specific area is. So would you know when the guy, alleged murderer, Brian Kohberger, was captured by the state police? It was in Pennsylvania. And he lives Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, 28 miles south of Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's starting sounding scripted to me, okay? So I kept researching, and I discovered this Kohberger lived, he was a student out there, University of Idaho. He lived 8 miles due west of Moscow. So I thought, that's kind of curious name anyway, Moscow. You know what I'm saying? And I discovered that there's a Moscow, Pennsylvania. It's 8 miles away from Scranton. And I'm like, this is starting to sound kind of weird. And anyway, the final piece that makes me think that it's quite possibly a CIA sleeper cell. He, the guy that, allegedly killed 4 college students with a knife, it was the bloodiest, most horrific murder that I could remember, is when the next day, it was a Sunday morning at 3 a.m. when the massacre took place, November the 13th, 2022. The next day, Joe Biden got a special prosecutor assigned to him, and it never made it into the press. Never. It got kind of big-footed, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. No, look, Bob, that's the thing with the Bidens. And, they don't have the body count and the body trail that the Clintons do. Okay, the Clintons are notorious. Everybody around them seems to die, especially anyone with incriminating or damaging information or any potential whistleblower. It's just uncanny, the coincidence, quote unquote. I put coincidence in quotation marks. How many people die who were part of, the Clinton circle? The Bidens, though, are starting to get up there. Now, to me, they're still a junior crime family. To me, the Clintons are the big fish. The Obamas are the big fish. The Bushes are the big fish. The Cheneys are the big fish. But the Bidens now are starting to get up there. As I said, they were late to the game. They made up for it quickly. They made a lot of cash. They made a lot of cash quick. But no, look, this is what I mean. The deep state has to be exposed. And they have been covering up for Biden, for the Biden crime family, for the Clintons, the Clinton crime family, the Bushes, the Cheneys, that crime family, and of course the Obamas. Now, no one is going to tell me that the FBI had no idea what Joe and Hunter and his family were doing in Ukraine. Look, we were behind Maidan, the overthrow of the pro-Russian democratically elected government in 2014. That was a CIA operation from the beginning. Now, another angle that hasn't even been mentioned in all of this, Hunter Biden owned biolabs in Ukraine. Daddy told him, Joe told him, there's a lot of money there doing gain-of-function research in Ukraine because the regulations are very lax. You can't do it here. We're funding some stuff at the Wuhan lab, But you really want the Wild West? Go to Ukraine, where they have at least 46 bioweapons labs. And there's a lot of money in biological chemical weapons research. Son, get in on the ground. And that's, by the way, another reason why Putin invaded Ukraine. But let that go. So my point is that the Bidens and others, I know the McCains are up to their eyeballs in corruption in Ukraine. The Romneys, the Pelosi's. There's a lot of money flowing back into Washington from Ukraine. The Kerrys, that's another one. And they use their kids. You see, that's the model. They have their children be essentially the middleman or the bagman. So it's not me. No, hey, no, not me. No, it's Junior. No, Junior's an investor. Junior is an entrepreneur. I mean, it's unbelievable. So all of it needs to be exposed because it's a cancer on our government and on our country. I'm going to go to John in Chelsea, but I'm up against it. So, John, hang on. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, very quick reset. I want to take all of your calls. The backlash, the blowback is growing against Biden's unprecedented pardon of his son Hunter. Trump now says he's not going to let it go. Kash Patel, Pam Bondi have said they are going to investigate this no matter what. My question to you, should the Bidens end up in prison? Is enough enough? Did Biden abuse his presidential pardon powers? I say yes. What say you? All of your calls. Next. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is an absolutely brilliant text from 917. You can text us 70470, 70470. Jeff, another of Hunter Biden's crimes for which he is guilty, dead to rights on, is a host of FARA violations, chief of which is failing to register as an agent of a foreign enterprise. Paul Manafort went to prison for that. General Flynn was also charged with that. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Under the Foreign Agents Registration Act, if you work for a foreign company or you lobby for a foreign entity, foreign government, foreign company, you have to register as a foreign agent under FARA. If not, a la Paul Manafort, it's a crime, it's a felony. You can go to prison 6 months up to a year. This is what Hunter Biden did for over 10 years. And he refused to register under FARA. So, in plain English, he violated the very laws that they went after Paul Manafort on, put him in jail, that they charged Mike Flynn because he was doing some lobbying on behalf of the Turkish government, and they charged him with and used it to squeeze him to get a plea deal. So you could get Hunter Biden 6 ways to Sunday on all kinds of crimes if you really wanted to. That's why Biden had to give him this blanket pardon. Now, let him give his blanket pardon. Put him under oath. Put Hunter under oath, because Hunter Biden now can't invoke the Fifth Amendment. And by not invoking the Fifth Amendment, he's going to either have to comply and answer questions, or he can stonewall and be cited for contempt and obstruction. So if Trump is serious, and if Kash Patel is serious, this thing is not over, not by a long shot. John in Chelsea. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
It's John Brown Dog, formerly of Mental Square in Cambridge, but I escaped. I'm in Chelsea now for 3-4 years. Basically, the Biden, this has been going on with Biden now for 50, 60 years. The lying and the rest of it. The whole time he's been in public government, which really goes back all the way. And he was building the crime family back from them. There really isn't too much more to say that hasn't been said in the last hour. Because you kind of stole it, but that's good. That's a good thing.
No, John. Look, if you don't mind, I promise I'll let you finish. Look, I'm a 55-year-old man. Okay, I'm 55. I'm a middle-aged man. I've got a wonderful wife. The Lord has blessed me with 2 beautiful children. One is 14, Ashton. Ava is 12. He's been in politics. Just think about this. Longer than I've been alive. He's been in politics longer than I've been alive. Now, as I said, I'm no spring chicken. I'm a middle-aged man with a wife and 2 kids and a family. Like, just think about that. And, apparently on this, government salary, he's amassed a massive fortune with multiple mansions. Hired help. He has a butler. He has a maid. I mean, this is personal staff. I mean, this is what they've amassed. And I'm going to get into a little bit after the break. John, you really want a good laugh. You got to see how his son lived. You're not going to believe it. You're just not going to believe how his son lived. He lived like a Hollywood celebrity. There's no other way to put it. I mean, the partying, the drugs, the prostitutes, it's the money. $25,000 for this hooker, $15,000 for that hooker, $100,000 for that cocaine. I mean, private jets. I mean, you're thinking, how much did they freaking steal? And, Comer says they stole at least $25 million. I'm like, that's the tip of the iceberg. There's no Hunter Biden goes through $25 million in 1 year. Hell, that's just his cocaine budget for a year. $25 million goes up his nose in 1 year. No, there's no way it was only $25 million. So, John, I think we're entitled to know how much did they steal? Am I wrong?
You're right on. I'm 80. I'm 78, so I'm almost 80 myself. How much did they steal? When he pardoned Biden, he opened up. Basically, he removed the protection. He really was trying to protect himself and Obama.
Bingo.
Obama was slick enough and slippery enough to get by in all of this, but Biden hasn't been. So now they can and they will.
No, you nailed it. No, I'm telling you, he's opened the door. If Trump and his DOJ want to go after him, he's opened the door. You're right. See, Obama is slippery enough, frankly smart enough, not to leave such an obvious trail of breadcrumbs. This guy, January 1st, 2014, the pardon begins then. Like he's basically, he's screaming it. That's when we really began to steal money. We're going to get his ass. 7:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, listen now. This is Adam Schiff. Okay, he was then Congressman Adam Piece of Schiff, but now he's Senator or Senator-elect Adam Piece of Schiff. In 2018, Adam Schiff proposed a bill that would block or prevent Trump from issuing or granting any pardon to either himself or his family members. Saying, well, that's an abuse of the pardon power, and, this could be construed as obstruction of justice, and we can't allow that to happen. So, he proposes a bill, this was 6 years ago, saying we can't give Trump the ability to pardon a family member. Oh my God, it'll be the end of our democracy. This is him on CNN. Roll cut 10, Mike.
So the president's pardon of Scooter Libby, Congressman, has inspired you to propose new legislation. What exactly would it do?
What it would do is say that in the event the president pardons anyone in an investigation in which the president is a witness, a subject, or the target, those investigative files will all be turned over to the Congress. The Congress ought to know whether the president is using the pardon power to obstruct justice. The American people have a right to know. I think it is clearly constitutional. It doesn't prohibit him from granting a pardon, even a pardon he shouldn't grant. But it does say that we will be able to at least find out whether the president is using this power to shield himself from liability.
It offers transparency at the very least.
Look at this. And then there's Don Lemon. Who, by the way, what the hell is he doing now? I don't know what he's up to now. But anyway, there's Don Lemon. At least it'll offer transparency. Now, why do I mention this? The very same Dems and media who backed and supported Schiff's bill are now the exact same ones, yup, you guessed it, saying Joe Biden did a great thing in pardoning his son. Oh, what a great decision. What a way to go. Joey, that's how you do it, Joey. You liar. You phonies, you frauds, you want to talk about liars and hypocrites? And what did Joe Biden do to obstruct an investigation into himself? That's the whole point of pardoning Hunter Biden. He didn't pardon Hunter. He really pardoned himself. If you want to use the Schiff bill, now is the time where you say, you know what? Maybe we do need that bill to go after Joe Biden. Suddenly now, no. He did the right thing. Now, let me throw this log on the fire. Many Democrats are making the argument that Joe Biden was right to pardon Hunter. I swear to you, listen to this. Because apparently Hunter was addicted to drugs. And he wasn't in his right state of mind, and you need to take pity, and Hunter is a victim of addiction, and poor little Hunter, and hey, it's what every dad would do for his or her own son, his son or daughter. That this is what any dad would do. Any dad would do this. Trump, on the other hand, well, that's a different story. You have to crucify him. You have to put him in jail for the rest of his life. Why? Because he wasn't addicted to drugs. You see, so if you're a drug addict, then you should be pardoned. If you're not a drug then throw the book at him. I swear to you, I've heard crazy liberal logic in my life, but this takes the cake. So let me ask all of you. What do you make? This is the argument now that Whoopi Goldberg is making, The View is making, many on CNN are making. Listen now. This is Congressman Jerry Connolly from Virginia on CNN saying he's got mixed emotions about this. Roll cut 3, Mike.
President Biden pardoning his son Hunter, something that he said over and over again he would not do, something that the White House said over and over he would not do. What is your response to that?
I have a mixed response. As a father myself and as someone who knows Joe Biden, I can sympathize with his perspective that his son was, subject to vigilante justice. I certainly witnessed that in Republican depositions of Hunter Biden and his attorney. But having said that, what other father in America has the power to pardon his son or daughter if they're convicted of a crime? I really think we have to revisit the pardon power in the Constitution. And at the very least, I think we've got to circumscribe it so that you don't get to pardon relatives, even if you believe passionately they're innocent or that their cause is just.
How is Hunter Biden's cause just? Now, let me just give you an example, okay? You got to hear this. This is the kind of guy Hunter Biden is. This is what the media is desperately trying for you not to see and not to know. Hunter Biden, for much of his life, partied and partied and partied. And here, for example, in 2019, he was renting a beautiful home in Venice Beach, California. According to the landlord of that home, Hunter Biden owes more than $300,000 in back pay rent. And this is what he said when he found out about the pardon. His name is Sean McGuire. And this is what he wrote on X when he found out that Joe Biden now had pardoned his son. Quote, "So what happens to the $300,000 plus in back pay rent that Hunter Biden owes my family from 2019 to 2020? Is that pardoned now too as well?" Thanks, Joe. Now, so apparently, and he's got pictures to prove it, Hunter was his tenant in Venice Beach, California. He didn't pay rent for over a year. Rent was something like $25,000 a month. And not just that he didn't pay rent, he trashed the place. Partying night after night, playing music too loud, destroyed the furniture. He said you wouldn't believe what he did to my property. He absolutely trashed it. And then after he was done trashing it and not paying rent for over a year, he then, I kid you not, this is not a joke, he then came to me and said he was going to pay me back with his own art made from his own feces. Forgive me, his own poop. And at first I thought, is this a joke? And he said, no. The guy was dead serious. He goes, I'll give you a Biden special, a Hunter Biden special work of art, something that's going to blow your mind. And he goes, yeah, I use my feces, and it's part of my artwork. And I'll give you a piece of art. You can say it's my name. It's by Hunter Biden. And that's worth at least $300,000, and we're even. We're even, Steven. Quote, so when he went and said, look, I'm telling you, he offered to pay me back with art made from his own feces. Somebody then said, according to the Daily Mail, people on social media were saying that that can't be true. Sean McGuire. Yep, true story. Hunter was our tenant in Venice, California. He didn't pay rent for over a year. So he tried to pay with art made from his own feces. And then he then calls him an absolute, I can't say this word on the air, absolute excrement bag, absolute crap bag. Okay, you know what he really said. And then he said, no, I don't want your feces. Your feces, you may not think it smells, but I'm telling you it smells. So I don't want your feces. Do you understand? You sick pervert, you. I don't want it. So pay me the money. I want money. I don't want your, I can't say it. I don't want your feces, your excrement. I don't want it. So Hunter then, I'm not kidding, left. According to the Daily Mail, listen to this. He then trashed the place, refuses to pay rent. Then he goes to another place. Hunter. So now he owes over $300,000. Hunter, his wife Melissa, and the baby Bo moved into another Venice rental home, rented at $25,000 per month. But the president's son, again, they have pictures, trashed it, failed to pay rent on that home as well. They stiffed the owner for months of rent. They left the house in terrible condition. Apparently, the wife, Melissa, was rude, entitled, and they left the place a disaster after skipping out on $80,000 in rent payments. This is the kind of guy Hunter Biden is. He thinks he's untouchable. He thinks he's entitled. He literally thinks, I swear to you, that his own feces not only doesn't smell, it's worth 300 grand. The great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Couple lines are open if you want to jump on. Okay, just very quickly, because I want to go to the phone lines. This is a very good point many of you are saying. Jeff, that story I just read to you from the Daily Mail. So Hunter, his wife Melissa, and their kid, their son Bo, rent a place in Venice over a year and a half, unpaid rent, $300,000. And by the way, they trashed the whole place. They destroyed the stereo. They destroyed the furniture. It was a mess. Okay, filthy, stinking mess. And then he offers to pay the guy back, I swear to you, saying a piece of art with containing some of his feces. And he thinks he's some Picasso, that he does stuff with his excrement that nobody can, and he spreads it, all over a canvas. And you smell it, and you go, wow, my God, this is Hunter. It's just, that's how sick this guy is, okay? Then, they leave him high and dry. So $300,000 unpaid. Never mind all the damage to the house. Then they go to another place, and they don't pay rent for months, $80,000. And again, they trash it, completely trash it. And so we're almost at $400,000. Notice nobody ever gets their money back. Notice nobody ever gets paid back. The Bidens believe that they can just rip everybody off, and nothing ever happens. Now, my sister weighed in, and this is what she texted me. And she makes a really, really good point. She says, Jeff, what does it say about the Bidens sending a crack addict to conduct, quote unquote, business in Ukraine and China? Talk about being full of, and I can't, the poop emoji, talk about being full of excrement. I mean, ay. I'm telling you, you can't make this stuff up. You can't. And then there's the media. Oh, poor Hunter. He really deserves a second chance. Poor guy. David on the Cape. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Jeff, unbelievable. I just think of Jeff, 87,000 IRS agents they wanted to hire to go after American people. And Joe Biden, how many thousands of times did he lecture us on you have to pay your fair share over and over? Just pay your fair share. And then they exposed Donald Trump's tax records. And impeached him for a phone call with Zelensky. But Joe Biden's in violation of his oath of office to protect our country from foreign invasion, to enforce the laws of the United States. He's abusing his power to pardon his son, to cover his illegal acts, to cover his violation of his oath of office. Jeff, this is so... The more I just hear it, the more outrageous it gets. I knew a waitress that owed $300 in taxes, and she had to pay $2,000 back in penalties to the IRS. And here they are whining and dining. How does that landlord pay the IRS, pay his mortgage if Hunter Biden's not paying his rent? And then he gets pardoned? Jeff, this is beyond. It's like our country's been invaded from within. It's like our government's been completely taken over. The Democrats knew there's no way they can do this amount of damage, this amount of money handling stuff, and not have people know. Joe Manchin wants to have him pardon Donald Trump for doing what? So Joe Manchin's got to be in on it. Joe Manchin, that's proof right there, Jeff. This is beyond. It's just mind-boggling. Think about it. 87,000 IRS agents they wanted to hire to go after American people, and he lectures us over and over about paying your fair share. Jeff, it's mind-boggling.
Well, look, David, it's communism. I mean, I'm just telling you that for people who have parents, grandparents, or if they themselves fled communism, everything I'm describing, and I know they're nodding their head as I say this, is they go, yeah, that's either the old country or the country we just left to come here. That's Venezuela, that's Cuba, that's China, that's Eastern Europe when it was under the Iron Curtain, former Soviet Union. I mean, I could go on. They take what they want. They steal what they want. They don't owe you rent. They don't owe you anything. They're entitled. And their children are entitled. They're a privileged elite that are above the law. They're invincible. While you, the peasants, get crushed. And, you hit the nail on the head. Biden wanted 87,000 IRS agents. Apparently, right? Remember, that was the fig leaf. What was the pretense? The pretext? To go after all these millionaires and billionaires who don't pay their fair share. Okay, what about you? Start with yourself. Start with your degenerate son. That we know of. 20, to be exact, I said 25. The real figure is 27, okay? I'm going by the House Oversight Committee's report. They go, there's a lot more, but this is what we're able to track down. $27 million Hunter Biden brought in as the bag man to the Biden crime family. And then it was like a shell game, as I said. It was some money went to Frankie Biden, and some more went to Jimmy Biden. They brought in even the granddaughter. They threw in millions into the granddaughter's account, and they kept transferring money to different other accounts. They just kept shifting money all over the place. So they said there's so many accounts, so much money coming in from all these sources around the world, foreign governments, foreign oligarchs, foreign entities. We can't keep track of. You need the Justice Department. We don't have the manpower to track all this down. But we found tip of the iceberg, 27 million. Hunter Biden didn't pay taxes on any of that. I'm telling you, they didn't. Now they narrowed it down to a couple of years, and he owed the government 1.6 million in taxes. But there's a lot more. Now, just think about this. Where are the IRS agents? Where are they when you need them? Go after Hunter. They wouldn't go after Hunter. Go after Joey. They wouldn't go after Joey. Go after Frankie and Jimmy or Ashley or the whole family. No. But they'll come after you and me, Dave. Oh, as you put it, you don't pay $300. You owe thousands of dollars in fines. That's communism. And what they did, look, this was their scheme and their scam. I'm a criminal. My son is a criminal. Okay, he's the bag man. He's the middle guy. He's the front guy. I'm selling out the United States. That's what Joe Biden, that was his business. I will sell out the United States government, the American people, for the right price. Don't give me the money. Give the money to my degenerate son. And then he'll spread it around in multiple accounts. It'll go to my brothers. It'll go to my sisters. It'll go to my daughter, even now my granddaughter. And then when everything is said and done, after we have, I believe they stole, you want my honest opinion? I think they stole $1 billion. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. I'm not using any facts to back this up. We have to do a thorough accounting. I think it's as high as $1 billion. If you go over their 15, 20, 30-year career, okay? But let's just keep it to what they have. Tens and tens of millions of dollars that we know of. Now, I then sell the country out. I use my family to funnel and launder the money. Then I use the pardon power to pardon my son, who's the only one that can really blow the whistle on me, and thereby effectively cover up his crimes and the big one, my crimes. That's what he just did. That's what he did. he badly abused the pardon power to cover up his treason, his corruption, his bribery, his influence peddling, and his money laundering. And the epicenter of that is Ukraine. It's China as well. And there's Romania, but the two big ones are Ukraine and China. And we're on the verge of World War III over Ukraine. He has gotten us involved in one of the biggest, most dangerous wars in the history of the world. And sending them hundreds of billions of our dollars as he's being blackmailed by the Ukrainians in Kiev because he and his son were on the take for so many years. Now, you tell me, A, how is Biden not impeached? B, how does I don't care, he can pardon himself 50 times over. How does Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and Donald Trump not say we need a massive, thorough, not just investigation, Matt Gaetz as a special counsel, and investigate this from A to Z and expose all of this to the American public in a report by the special counsel? David, he's got no choice. By doing this pardon and being so brazen and blatant about how much they stole and how corrupt they were, he's basically forcing Trump's hand. Am I wrong?
Jeff, you're 100% right. And think of this, Jeff. He was in Normandy, on the hallowed ground of Normandy, telling David Muir that he was not going to pardon his son. This past June, on the 80th anniversary of D-Day, he was in Normandy while he's committing these treasonous acts against our country over years. He's telling David Muir that he was not going to pardon his son on the hallowed grounds where our soldiers and relatives died to protect our freedoms. And what a spitting on the graves of the World War II soldiers. Violation of the oath of office, violation of his position as commander-in-chief. The country's got to be outraged. This is disgusting.
David, I'm asking you it's funny, but it's a very deadly serious question. You own a beautiful home, okay? Just humor me. It's on Cape Cod. Okay, Cape Cod, great place. I've been there many times. Beautiful home. And you own it, you rent it to me, $25,000 a month. I don't pay you rent for a year and a half. I owe you now over $300,000. You finally say, hey, look, Jeff, I like you, man, and, I love your father, he's the president and everything, but hey, dude, man, it's $300,000. I'm going to go under. I'm going to lose the house. Can you please pay me back my rent? And then I say to you with a straight face, with the sunglasses and the cigarette out of his lips, on the side of his lips, like he's James Dean, and a scarf around his neck. I swear to you. And he says, and I say to you, David, I'll pay you back with artwork. You're like, what? Yeah, it'll have like my crap on it. He actually said I can't say it. Okay, I'm going to get fined. So my feces. What? Yeah, I'm telling you, my artwork is that good. It's worth about $250,000 to $500,000. I spread my feces on a canvas and I sign my name to it. And I'll give you my feces within a frame on a canvas. And let's call ourselves even, Stephen. We're even. You and I are even. Seriously, David, what would be your reaction?
Dave, Jeff, this actually happened to me. I actually had renters not pay their rent, and I had to pay the mortgage anyways, no matter what, during the COVID thing. He gave permission for people not to pay their rent. I still had to make my mortgage payment. I was going to lose my property, and I was going to lose my credit score. This and the whole thing with the, I don't know what, I'm speechless, Jeff, as far as.
No, but I mean, I get that. No, when you said that happened to me, I'm like, what? So did some tenant, a deadbeat who didn't pay his or her rent, come to you and say, hey, David, look, hey, you want a Picasso? I just went to the toilet. I'll put that on a canvas, sign my name to it, and we're even. Now, David, seriously, if your tenant who owed you $300,000 came to you with the sunglasses and the scarf, because that's what he did, with the scarf and the cigarette outside the corner of his mouth, and say, my artwork's $300,000. I'll put some crap on it, sign my name, and you can put it up on your wall. And it's all paid. Okay? Deal? What would be your reaction? That a guy seriously is telling you that his crap on some painting, that smearing his crap is worth $300,000, and you should be grateful to put his crap on your wall. Seriously, what do you say to a guy like that?
Jeff, I don't know what to say. I'd probably bring it to the bank, and they would probably tell me, you must be renting to the Bidens.
David, thank you very, very much for that call. I mean, that's what I'm telling you. That's the kind of guy he is. Like, that's what people don't get. That's Hunter Biden. Now, this guy, you think he's going to stay out of trouble once his old man is gone on January 20th? No! Are you serious? Look at this guy. That's what I mean. He's so narcissistic. He's so self-absorbed. He's so inconsiderate. He's so arrogant. This guy thinks his poop is a work of art. You can't make this stuff up. 6-1. That's what all, by the way, that's the drugs. Over decades and decades and decades. When you that much cocaine, that much crack, that much booze, that many Russian prostitutes, over and over and over. That's what ends up coming out of your mouth. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from 617. Jeff, I should call Hunter Biden. I just left a beautiful piece of artwork in my toilet. I had no idea. But, last night I was sitting on a gold mine. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just super quick. Some really good text pouring in. I want to go right back to the phone lines. Okay, this, let me see here. Okay, here it is. This is from 508. And I want to throw this log on the fire and see what you think of it. Jeff, Joe Biden will issue a full pardon to himself and his entire family before he leaves office. Guaranteed. And that is how you know the Democratic Party is nothing but an organized crime syndicate. Well, that's, I think, what the pardon of Hunter has really done. I like that phrase, organized crime syndicate. The pardon of Hunter, the over decade-long, sweeping, unconditional, blanket nature of the pardon. This is a crime syndicate, an organized crime syndicate. And I wouldn't be shocked if he pardons himself and pardons every member of his family. I mean, it's obvious. And look, when you press, the Democrats keep saying they fear Kash Patel. Well, he had to do this because of Kash Patel. Well, if he's innocent, what are you worried about Kash Patel? Well, the reason why they're worried about Kash Patel is because Kash Patel was going to go after Hunter Biden. And by going after Hunter, he's going to go after the whole family. Ultimately going all the way to Joe. And once you get Joe, that leads all the way to Obama. And that's why now they have to close ranks on this pardon. One last one. This is from 617. Jeff, Biden's presidency started with him denying the existence of Hunter's laptop and is ending with Biden pardoning Hunter for all the things found on his laptop. Bingo. Steve in Dorchester. Thanks for holding, Steve, and welcome.
Steve, Jimmy from Dorchester.
All right, I'm sorry. My apologies. Mike, what the hell, man? I have Steve. By the way, Dorchester is misspelled, but let that go. I'm sorry. Jimmy in Dorchester. My apologies, Jimmy.
Good morning, Jeff. I got a good one for you. You're going to be in shock. He's going to go on in the buddy system with his father, Joe, and his son. I'm going to tell you, okay, in the Daily Mail for about a month and a half ago in the Guardian. Okay, this has to do with Zaleski. Then I got a second one for you with javelins and Biden, but let me tell you this one about Zaleski and Joe Biden. Are you aware that Zaleski in the past couple of months has purchased 4 villas in Europe? One of them happens to be King Charles Mansion for £200 million. Can you believe that, Jeff?
What is that? I know the pound is stronger than the dollar, so we're looking at what is that, $300,000? Maybe even more? Sorry, what am I saying? $300 million. So that's right. About 300. That's obscene. Jimmy, that's what I mean. It's obscene. Think about it, Jimmy. Ukrainians are dying. Women are dying. Men are dying. Children are dying. Your cities are being reduced to rubble. And you guys are making out like bandits and buying up dachas and mansions. And now from the British royal family, $300 million palaces as your country is slowly dying and being destroyed right in front of your eyes. It's disgusting. It really is. It's disgusting.
Okay, Biden and the javelins, right? Okay, he's sending out the $725 million. You know what's going on? And it's been going on for the past 4 years. Weapons that we've been sending to Ukraine end up not only going to Ukraine, half of them disappear and they go to the black market in Kosovo. From there, they get sent to Latin American.
Oh, Jimmy, please hang on. I'm going to come right back to you, I promise. And maybe by then, Mike will have changed your name to Jimmy instead of Steve. You're not changing it, Mike. And why do you keep misspelling Dorchester, Mike? What do you have against the people of Dorchester? On the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I'm going to go right back. By the way, it's still Steve in Dorchester on the board there, Mike. Although you did spell Dorchester correctly now. But wait, what do you have, something against putting Jimmy up there? All right, we're going to go to Jimmy, right back to Jimmy in Dorchester. But before I do, super quick, this is what Larry messaged me on Messenger. And it's a really good point, seriously. Jeff, seriously. What sober, and sober is all in caps, what sober person would think that using their feces to make quote-unquote art is normal or rational? Hunter Biden. Jimmy in Dorchester. Jimmy, so your first fact was a mind blower. So Zelensky now has bought up 4 more massive properties across Europe. One of them is a property that was owned or previously belonged to King Charles, the British royal family. And apparently Zelensky snatched it up for over 200 million pounds. Which is about $300 million. That's where our money's going, Jimmy. You want to know where the money's going? That's where our money is going. Then you were talking about Javelin missiles that we were sending to Ukraine. These are supposed to be used to destroy Russian tanks and armored personnel carriers. But instead, these Javelins, Jimmy, you're saying, ended up in Kosovo. So they sold them on the black market. They were in Kosovo. And then from Kosovo, and then we had to go to break. So, Jimmy, where did they end up? What, let me guess, Africa, Latin America, maybe even here by MS-13 or something. Jimmy, please pick up where you left off.
All right, they've been flowing to Latin American countries. You know who's ending up with them? The cartels.
Incredible.
The cartels. Jeff, here's the one that really bothers me. I'm happy Trump's in there because he's going to clean the house. And I hope he goes after Zelensky. Zelensky will give out all the names. If he goes after Zelensky, he'll tell us, the American people, who the crooked politicians are, Republican rhinos and Democrats that have been getting kickbacks from the weapons we're sending them, and they're ending up on the black market. Now, how much of that money is going into their pockets? And you got American people. I go across the United States, I see the homeless. I have like that Indian in that commercial when he sees pollution and he's got tears in his eyes. How can you do this to your own American citizens?
Jimmy, I couldn't have said it better myself. Jimmy, I've got to ask you in all seriousness, with these javelins now ending up in the hands, or at least some of them ending up in the hands of these drug cartels, you know, Trump has said on day one, he's going to launch special operations raids using our forces, our men and women, to target these cartels across Mexico. Jimmy, God forbid, what happens if they start using these javelins on our own troops, on our own special forces, and Americans come home dead because we gave the weapons to Zelensky, who then sold it on the black market, and it ended up being used against our own people? I mean, Jimmy, is that a possibility?
Yes, Jeff. Yes.
I mean, it's honestly, it's beyond obscene. It's outrageous. Jimmy, we got to end this war. We got to cut off all funding to Ukraine, and we've got to end this war yesterday. Jimmy, as always, great information, dynamite info. Thank you for that call, Jimmy. Keith in New Hampshire. You've been holding patiently, Keith. Thank you and welcome.
Kuhner, man, I've loved you in the morning, I've loved you in the afternoon, and sometimes I've even loved you at night in a non-sexual way.
Keith, what's on your mind, my friend?
The question for you, I'm concerned. What happens if exactly nothing happens to the Bidens? What happens to us then? We're running out of patience. Nothing ever seems to happen. No walls get built. No DACA gets disapproved. A lot of talk and no action is destroying America. They are above the law. What happens then, Kuhner?
Keith, really, this is our last chance. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I want to talk to you like a brother. Like you and I, if you're at my home, on my couch, you know, talk or over a dinner table, or, you know, and you and I are just sitting alone amongst ourselves. This is our last chance to fix our country. And I think Trump knows that. And to be fair to him, I know he's convinced that he survived that assassin's bullet, that God saved and spared his life. Because not just to win the election for the sake of winning, but because he has to fulfill the promises that he made. Because if we don't take advantage of this opportunity, I don't think we'll ever get it again. The country's finished. I mean, we'll continue. I'm not saying it's the end of the world or something, but we'll become a third world banana republic. Look, we're going to go the way of other democracies and other republics in the past. If you have all of these elites, this ruling class that is above the law, and you have this two-tier justice system, you're going to end up with a third world country. That's what happens. That's most of the world. Most of the world is this. They steal, they lie, they betray, they break the law, and they laugh in your face, and there's nothing you can do about it. And here we're supposed, to quote Joe Biden, no one is above the law. Well, he's a liar, but we're supposed to be where no one is above the law, and we're all equal under the law. And that's the constitutional republic our founding fathers bequeathed us, won for us. And so it's not, Keith, it's now or never. And to be even more blunt, he's got 2 years. I know he's got a 4-year term, but the midterms are going to be in 2 years, and the Democrats are going to do everything in their power to regain the House. So he's really got 2 years to implement and execute everything he needs to do and wants to do. So that's why he's got to hit the ground running, and they got to be clicking on all cylinders. It has to be war on day one, Keith. War on the deep state, sealing the border, deporting all these illegals, making us energy independent. It's got ending the war in Ukraine, ending the wars in the Middle East. It's got to be now or never. More next. KO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. So, yeah, just to put an exclamation point to what, Keith was asking and what I was saying just before the break, this is why Trump's transition is so important. This is why his cabinet is so ultra important. He has to have the right people for the right positions, and they have to be willing and able to hit the ground running. Because really, we have a 2-year window and a once-in-a-generation opportunity to really fix the very serious problems that are ailing our country. And if we don't fix them, I don't think we'll ever get a chance again. I think it's really that dire. I think it's that bad. So if the deep state is still existing after 4 years, if the Bidens are getting away scot-free, and all of these oligarchs and the ruling class is still there, and the permanent bureaucracy is still there, and we're still inundated with illegals, and, we're still spending trillions of dollars more every single year than what we take in, if we still have these record deficits, then yes, the country is not going to recover. No country can recover. And that's why Trump realizes he has to become a transformational president. Or if you want to be more accurate, a restorationist president. He has to restore our constitutional republic, and he's got 2 years to do it. In essence, if they win the midterms again, then he's got 4. But the Democrats are going to pull out all the stops to at least win back the House in 2026. So Trump really, it's got to be a lightning offensive. He's got to go after the border. He's got to go after the illegals. He's got to start deportations. His Justice Department, FBI director, they've got to start cleaning house immediately. Doge has to start slashing trillions of dollars in spending very quickly. Basically, Trump has 2 years to implement his agenda. After that, it's going to be very tough. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. Just trust me when I tell you this, okay? You're going to want to hear this. And if you're on the line, please stay on the line. I promise I'm going to get to your calls. But as you know, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, the very woke, far left-wing Prime Minister of Canada, rabid Trump hater, and you want to talk about someone who I can't stand. After Joe Biden, I'm telling you, Justin Trudeau is right there after Joey, okay, being a former Canadian myself. Well, Justin Trudeau went to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the evil orange man's ring. And there he was, meeting with Trump, trying to ingratiate himself, all sycophantic. He's no longer talking tough. No. The days of calling Donald Trump a Nazi, fascist, evil, a threat to democracy. Now Justin Trudeau is singing a very different tune. Justin Trudeau is petrified that Trump is going to follow through on his promise to renegotiate the United States-Mexico-Canada Free Trade Agreement. Remember, Trump reworked NAFTA and dramatically improved it? Well, now he says, you know what? I want to rework and improve the USMCA, as it's called, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Free Trade Deal, the USMCA. And he says, I'll tell you what in particular, to both Canada and to Mexico, if you don't secure the southern border, Mexico, Canada, the northern border, and you don't stop migrants, illegals, and terrorists from pouring into our country, I'm going to hit both of you with a massive 25% tariff. And on top of that, you're going to stop ripping us off. And when it comes to the Canadians in particular, you're going to stop dumping timber and lumber and dairy products that are undercutting our farmers and our people in the timber lumber industry. In other words, no. The days of globalism are gone. I am going to put America and Americans first. Well, the United States is Canada's largest, by far, it's not even close, trading partner. The entire Canadian economy relies upon access to the American market. If Trump imposes a 25% tariff, boom, it is going to hit the Canadian economy hard. And Trudeau knows it. So, on Friday, he goes cup in hand, begging Trump, hey, you want to impose tariffs on Mexico? He threw the Mexicans under the bus. Mr. Woke Liberal. Always, the third world and, the poor brown black people of the third world. We should be confessing our sins for colonialism and oppression, blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden, he's got a re-election coming up next year. The economy's already bad in Canada. Tariffs will finish his government off. You will see a recession in Canada, and Trudeau is done. Suddenly, let's throw the Mexicans under the bus. Blank you. So he's telling Trudeau is telling Trump, you know what? You want to slap a tariff on the Mexicans? That's okay. But just spare us. Now, reports are finally coming out. You got to hear this. This is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Reports are now coming out about the meeting between Trump and Trudeau and what Trump told Trudeau to his face. Listen now to Peter Ducey on Fox. This is classic Donald Trump. It's why I love the guy. Roll cut 9, Mike.
Tonight we're getting some new details about that Trump-Trudeau dinner from two people who were at the table. We are told that when Trudeau told President-elect Trump that new tariffs would kill the Canadian economy, Trump joked to him that if Canada can't survive without ripping off the U.S. to the tune of $100 billion a year, then maybe Canada should become the 51st state and Trudeau could become its governor.
So basically what Trump said was, hey, look, you guys can't survive without ripping us off, without dumping all these, milk and eggs and cheese and timber and lumber. If you guys can't survive without ripping us off, hey, maybe we'll annex you. Make you the 51st state. How's that? And so you won't be prime minister anymore. You'll be the governor of Canada. Now, apparently, Trudeau and his people laughed, but apparently laughed nervously. They're like, is he half serious? Now, I got to throw it out there. Let's have a little bit of fun, okay? Come on. We won the election. We're getting our people in cabinet. These are incredible picks. Let's have a little bit of fun. So, tongue in cheek, the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Donald Trump told Justin Trudeau that if Canada keeps ripping off the United States, maybe Canada should become the 51st state. Should the United States annex Canada? Now, we're getting, I'm telling you, people have no sense of humor. We're getting blowback on the comments section. Jeff, come on. Trump was kidding. It was a joke. We know it was said tongue-in-cheek. The poll question is said tongue-in-cheek. Can we have a little bit of fun here, please? Does everything always have to be so serious? So, I want to ask you, should the United States annex Canada? Would you like to see Canada as the 51st state? A, yes. B, no. Mike, what are the poll results so far? 59, you can look it up. 59% of Kuhner country says yes. Almost 60% of you say, next the whole thing. Let's get it over with. So, A, yes. B, no. It's currently 59-41 in favor of annexing Canada. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN is a national ER. You can also vote via X, and as you saw last night, very, very active on X. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, KUHN is a national ER. Let me ask all of you, let's throw this log on the fire. What the hell? I never thought I would ask this question. Should the United States just take it all? Annex Canada. Your call's next. Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868. You know, Mike and I, because Sandy Shack is off all this week, so it's just Mike and I at the pre-show, production meeting, pre-show meeting, and we're like, hey, what do you think for a poll question? And we were, hey, here with Trump, and, Trump told Trudeau, and we're laughing, and I go, hey, come on, let's have some fun. Let's ask that as the poll question. No, it's gotten serious. Mike he's all in. Mike is a big yes. He's A. We should annex Canada. And I'm like, well, why, Mike? And he's like, hey, can you imagine going to see a hockey game? You could go to Canada and watch a hockey game or, visit or whatever. And you don't need a passport? He goes, it would be great. So, and that's apparently how many of you are thinking about this. This is Mark on Messenger. Jeff, I always wanted to go to a Bruins versus Canadians game without having to show a passport. Because right now I can't afford one, laugh out loud. And to be able to drive right into Canada, it would be awesome. But Jeff, I do like the words to the Canadian national anthem. So can we keep that? And this is from a really, really good friend of mine. He's an American, born and raised. He's a very patriotic American. But I kid you not, he's got a cottage, or a farm in New Brunswick, up in Canada. And so he spends a lot of time there. He likes, he's always listening to the show. And this is what he texted me. I think he's in New Brunswick, Canada now. Tongue in cheek? Question mark. I am serious. Yes, in caps. Annex Canada into the United States of America. Make Canada the 51st state and appoint the Kuhner man as governor. Grace would make such a wonderful first lady. Nah, they wouldn't vote for me up there. Trust me. I'm way too conservative for most Canadians, believe me. No, but look, think about it. Look at all the natural resources. That's a big plus. You get, especially, you get the oil from Alberta. That's nice. So, on the other hand, you get the welfare state. Think a massive, giant Vermont. Lot of or even frankly, Massachusetts. Lot of moonbats up there in Canada. Lot of moonbats. So Western Canada is more conservative, but man, you go into Ontario and especially Quebec and the Maritime provinces, holy shamoly. I mean, you're talking, we're talking Massachusetts, Vermont. These are Bernie, Elizabeth Warren potentially. Bernie and Elizabeth Warren people. So, yeah, do we really want to take the whole thing? That's a lot of moonbats you're taking in. I'm just throwing that out there. That's the question, Mike. How would it change the electoral map? We would have to break it up into multiple states. We can't just take the whole thing and make it the 51st state, because then we're really screwed, because that's basically California. Canada has a population of about 38 million people. So it's close to California's population. Now, they get 2 senators, but man, they get a lot of seats in Congress. So yeah, that would worry me, Mike. No, we're going to have to split it up into separate states, and then we can make it work. Now, for the record, I swear to you, when I was in high school, there was a Canada Day celebration, and one of my high school teachers, big lefty, real hardcore anti-American Canadian liberal. Everything about the United States sucked. Everything about Canada was better. Honestly, I couldn't stand the guy. He hated Ronald Reagan. I loved Ronald Reagan. And he always held it against me. Anyway, so this is in the summer now, and there's a Canada Day celebration right near my house. And who do I see with his paper and his pen, who apparently was doing some article for one of the local newspapers, but John Fasciano, who I nicknamed John Fascist Fasciano, but let that go. So there's Fascist Fasciano, and he sees me and I see him. He was my history teacher. And he walks up to me, Jeff, what are you doing here? Oh, I go, I'm just looking at the celebrations. He goes, hey, I'm doing a story on Canada Day. He goes, would you like to be quoted in the article? I go, yeah, sure. He goes, what's your comment? Are you proud to be Canadian? Is this day a really special day for you? I'll never forget what I told him. Here's exactly what I told him. Well, to be honest, and I was just doing this to needle him, I really think July 1st should be replaced by July 4th, because that's the real Independence Day. And I think it's time to get rid of the Canadian maple leaf and replace it with the Stars and Stripes. And he had this horrified look on his face. I swear, like I just said I'm going to rape him or something. He's like, you're not serious, are you? I'm like, of course I'm serious. He goes, you mean you don't want Canada to become a state in the United States? I go, it would be better for us. It would be better for the Americans. It's a win-win situation. That loser didn't put my quote in the article. So my friends told me later, they go, no, he refused to put it in. That little left-wing coward. Anyway, so look, that was my position then, and that's my position now. I know we're taking a lot of moonbats. I know it's not going to be easy to assimilate. That's a lot of moonbats. But in the end, I would love to see the United States absorb Canada, maybe with the exception of French Quebec. I don't know if they'd want to agree to that, maybe because of their language and their culture. So maybe they would be independent. But outside of Quebec, I've said this about Western Canadians my whole life. They are Americans in everything but name. So what the hell? I mean, of course, the Canadians would have to agree to it. I'm not talking Vladimir Putin send in the tanks and, just militarily grab the whole thing. But if the Canadians agreed, yeah, let's annex it. What the hell? And, do you know what this would do to the United States? It would make us the biggest country in the world with the most resources in the world. I mean, this would guarantee us as a superpower, I think, for another 100 years. So, to me, I'm all for annexing Canada. But that's me. 617-266-6868. And honestly, the maple syrup up there is outstanding. I'm just telling you. Vermont's maple syrup, very, very good. But Canadian maple syrup, I don't know what the hell it is. It's the best. So what the hell? What do we got to lose? Mags in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Mags, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I have been laughing hysterically in the car. People always think something's wrong with me on Route 128. I haven't. And I have to do a big shout out to the guy that was next to me who had a big Kuhner sticker on his car. Next to it, he had Lake and Riley say her name. Next to that, he had Trump derangement syndrome. And then he had a WRKO sticker. I was like, I love this guy. I know he's listening. So I wanted to put a shout out to him because it was awesome seeing all that on the back of his car. Because normally, Jeff, I'm yelling at people, where's your American flag, from seeing people with Ukrainian bumper stickers on their car and no American flag. It really infuriates me. However, that's not why I called, Jeff. I called because I think Trump is going to make people's heads spin around like crazy people. The first month he's in office, he is going to blow people's minds so bad that people aren't going to know whether to poop or go blind, because they're not, these people that still are woke are going to be really, really woken up. What do you think?
Oh, I agree with you, Mags. I completely agree with you. Look, you can tell he's over the target. They're freaking out over Tom Homan. They're freaking out over Kash Patel. They're freaking out over Tulsi Gabbard. They're trying to kill or tank the Pete Hegseth nomination. There's a big hit piece on him now in the New York Times. I'll probably talk about it tomorrow. It's disgusting now what they're doing. They're going into emails, private emails, between Pete Hegseth and his mother 6 years ago. They're leaking private emails between a son and a mother to try to humiliate and defame Hegseth, to tarnish him, just so that he can bow out and they can stop this nomination. So you can see by the ferocity of their resistance that this guy is putting together a dream team cabinet. And all we got to do now is get them confirmed. And once they're confirmed, Mags, we are going to run wild. And I think we're going to turn this country around. I think people are going to be shocked how quickly Trump is going to fix so many problems. If he can just get his cabinet people appointed, this is going to be, I believe, the greatest presidency in 100 years. Mags, what say you?
Jeff, I believe that 100%. I have been so happy since we got elected. When I was up at 1:30 in the morning watching him accept his presidential election, I was like one of the happiest people I think I've ever been in my whole life. I could feel it all the stress like kind of being lifted off me. He is going to straighten out so many things for so many people, and he's going to stop letting all these people in this country to hurt us and destroy our country. And as far as anything else is concerned, I just have to say something about the criminal Biden, letting his son off the hook. It's disgusting. Okay, just one more thing that Trump needs to put them all in jail for. Again, going against our country, doing everything against us people, the people that they work for. Jeff, I love you in a non-sexual way, but I'm going to tell you something right now. Trump is going to take names, and he's going to take them to the places that they wish they'd never gone. And I can't wait to watch it, because these people owe us for everything that they've done to us. And I can't wait to see it. And I'm an A, by the way, on taking over Canada.
Oh, really? So you're an A. You want to annex Canada, Mags?
I love Canada, Jeff. I love Canada. That's where you came from, baby. Even though you're not on there, that's where you came from. So I love Canada. And it's a beautiful country, and I would love it to be part of our country. Trump, I hope you're listening. I love you. I know that our country is going to be the best it's ever been, Jeff, and I can't wait for the next 4 years.
Mags, thank you very much for that call. So Mags is an A. She's like Mike. Hey, go visit. You don't need a passport. Go see a hockey game. By the way, I'm told by many that Canadian beer is excellent. So, you get the maple syrup, you get the beer, you get the oil from Alberta, Instead of them dumping all that timber and lumber, it's all ours. And think about it. Not just Alaska. We can go all the way to the Arctic now. We've got it all, baby. Can you just imagine that? In terms of natural resources, we'd be the wealthiest country in the world. Can you imagine combining the natural resources of the United States and Canada? Holy smokes. I mean, we'd blow China out of the water. Really. It would confirm that phrase in the 19th century, God must have been an American. God must be an American. They go, he's blessed America with so much. The climate, the geographical location, the natural resources, the Constitution, the founding. So there was a common expression in the 19th century, God must be an American. If we ended up getting Canada, holy mackerel, they'd revive that phrase all over again. Greg and Sharon, thanks for holding, Greg, and welcome.
Thanks for taking my call, Jeff. Wow, this is getting serious. This idea is getting some legs. All right, I wanted to throw this idea out there. Okay, Canada, sure. Only if.
Didn't see that one coming, Greg. That's pretty good. Now, what about Hawaii? We keep Hawaii, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to keep Hawaii. Alaska, filled with resources. Look, I don't think it's the worst idea in the world to be up there taking Canada. But, you do have to, I think you said the Senate, the House, like if we're really putting the pencil to paper here, there is some issues with that. But look, Trudeau is wildly unpopular up there. He is wildly unpopular. And you know what's very interesting about that country is they don't have an election every 2 or 4 years. The prime minister actually has the authority to just simply call for an election, which, is very different than this country. But Trudeau hasn't done it. And I think he knows fair well that he'd lose. He would lose the truckers' protest, the COVID nonsense. He's been a dictator, and I think he would lose. And
Greg, just so that you know, the polls now show him behind the Conservatives, who are the main opposition party, by over 20 points. His goose is cooked. He's going to get destroyed. He has to call an election by the end of next year. That's the end of his 5 years. You're right. It's the British system, the prime minister system. So within those 5 years, he can call, he wins an election. He can call an election in 3 months or a year or 2 years, or it's at the prime minister's discretion. But he has a maximum term of 5 years. And his term is coming to an end next year. He's going to have to call an election eventually. And he is going to get annihilated. Really, when I say his goose is cooked, his goose is cooked. So, no, I like that. So you're saying Puerto Rico goes to Mexico, we get Canada. Because remember, Greg, in Trump's first term, he just threw this out there and the libs went, their heads exploded, they went crazy. He said, does anybody want to buy Greenland? Do you remember that? And he said, because if there's a good deal on the table, he goes, why wouldn't the United States buy Greenland? It's got a lot of natural resources. And everybody's like, he's a conqueror, he's a dictator. And Trump's like, no, I'm putting money on the table if they want to sell it, yes or no. What about Greenland, Greg? What the hell? What do you think of that?
I love it. You must be reading my mind, because that was exactly where I was going to go next. And let's be serious for a second here. The Democrats, they really are a demonic party. They're absolutely demonic. They have no moral compass. And look, ultimately, we can't sit around and be nice anymore. That time is coming. It's gone. We have to fight fire with fire. Okay? When Trump gets into office, he's putting the right people in the cabinet positions. But when he gets into office, he's got to hit the ground running with some of these ideas. And, I think there's a laundry list of things that he can get done. He's using the terrorists as a negotiation tool on an international stage, and he needs, I think he's already hinted to this, but federal funding to all of these states needs to go completely bone dry if the deportations are not on the table. Look, the federal government is giving these states billions of dollars for what? So that they can run this demonic party and they can continue this reign of, quite frankly, terror upon the people. And just real quick, Jeff, to come full circle on this Hunter Biden nonsense. Look, we've heard the old saying, "Don't pee on my leg and say that it's raining." Well, don't poop on canvas and tell me it's art.
That's a good one, Greg. That's a very good one. No, look, I completely agree with you. Look, it's war. And this is what I've been telling Trump's people. This is political war. And you have to treat this like a political war. And if you don't treat it any other way, you're going to lose. You've got to understand this. They are your mortal enemies, and they are out to destroy you, cripple you, stop you, do everything in their power to undermine, and ultimately they want Trump out of office. The guy hasn't even been inaugurated, and they're planning to get rid of him. So he's got to understand he can show no mercy to the enemy, because the enemy's not going to show any mercy, and they haven't shown any mercy to him. And that's why on day one, you're right. He's got to start with the mass deportations. He's got to secure that border. And, you mentioned using tariffs as a weapon or a tool in your arsenal. Look what he's already done with the president of Mexico. She's a rabid socialist, very anti-American, and she was flapping her mouth about how migrants have the right, illegals have the right to come into Mexico, and if they want to go into the United States, that's their right, blah, blah, blah. Trump said, you know what? That's going to cost you 25% tariff. And if they keep coming, it's going to cost you another 25%. And if it keeps going, it's going to be 100% tariff. Well, within 48 hours, Greg, she did a complete 180. There was a massive caravan of illegals coming towards our southern border. Guess what happened, Greg? The caravan was pushed back. It's amazing now how Mexico on its own can start policing its borders and make sure that illegals no longer come in through our southern border. So Trump is not even in office yet, and he's already making the country better. So yes, do I think he should use tariffs as a tool or a weapon to defend our sovereignty and to defend our borders and to defend our economic interests? You better believe it. And if Justin Trudeau doesn't like it, too bad. And if the president of Mexico doesn't like it, too bad. Look, they're both, my understanding is Mexico now is even a bigger trading partner of ours than Canada. Okay, that's what I read in the business papers. That we have a slightly higher now trade volume with Mexico than with Canada. Now, they're both very important trading partners. They make a lot of money off of us. And we make a lot of money off of them, obviously. We're very good neighbors. We're very, very good trade relationships. But you got to stop taking advantage of us. I'm sorry, man. The days of Uncle Sucker are over. The days of Uncle Sam are back. 617-266-6868. And his name is Donald J. Trump. 920 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, the debate continues to rage. Should the United States annex Canada? So this is again from my American friend who has that wonderful, beautiful farm up in New Brunswick. And here's what he just texted me off air a couple minutes ago. Jeff, in all seriousness, you ask Canadians in private if they would want to join the USA, and a majority, and this is all in caps, would love it. I agree. I'm telling you, I agree. Now, that's not bearing on whether we should or shouldn't. You don't do something because, another country wants to do it. You do it if it's right for the United States. But what I'm just saying is, having been born and raised in Canada, still having many family members in Canada, many friends in Canada. I'm not saying all of them, but I would say a good majority of them. When you sit down, between, four walls, you go, hey, I'm just curious. If for whatever reason Quebec secedes, country begins to break up, would you like to see English Canada become part of the whole thing? The Maritime Provinces, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia, Yukon, all of it, the whole country, the English Canada. Would you like it to just basically, be part of the United States? And I would say about 60 to 40, 65 to 35 would say yeah. So, that's all. I've always found that very interesting. And look, there's a common saying. The biggest state of the United States is Canada. That Canada is not just the 51st state, but because of its size, it is the largest state of the United States. That it's basically a state of America in everything but name. So that's interesting. Now, very quickly, my sister, like me, born and raised in Canada, but now she's been living for a long time in Arizona, really does not like the idea. Does not want to see Canada annexed to the United States, not because, she is a Canadian nationalist or something. No. Because she's an American nationalist and a big Trump supporter and a conservative. This is what she wrote me. Jeff, this is a terrible idea. Canada annexed to the United States? It's like taking in another California. With all those crazy liberals? Jeff, have you forgotten already? No, thank you. So my sister is a B on the poll question. She's a no. Alan in South Carolina. Thanks for holding, Alan, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Very good. How are you, Alan?
Outstanding. We had a wonderful Thanksgiving.
I did. Thank you very much, Alan. How was your Thanksgiving?
Very, very good. Cannot complain at all. Hey, I want to harken back to the earlier conversation, but I have to comment on this Canadian annexation as well, and I have to agree with your sister. That was where my mind was going as well. Why do we want to absorb all those liberal moonbaths? I thought we were going to excommunicate them to Canada. I thought that's what the View was trying to do. They were trying to get all of New England to be part of Canada.
Well, that's what Sergeant Rock messaged me on Messenger. And he said, well, Jeff, again, kind of tongue-in-cheek, but he made his point. Where all the left-wing draft dodgers going to go, Jeff? That's what he said. If they can't go to Canada because Canada is now part of the United States, where do they go?
Going back to Hunter, I honestly, if he were to ask me if I would accept his art, I would tell him to shove it back up the orifice from which it came.
Alan, have you ever heard of any? This he's insane. Alan, to me, first of all, how do you get behind your rent $300,000? So you're living, think about this. You're living in this beautiful place in Venice, California. You're renting from this guy. Okay, you fall behind rent, I don't know, a month, 2 months, 14 months? And then, so you're now in the hole $300,000. You haven't paid rent. You've been living rent-free, Alan. Think about this, for 14 months. And you're trashing the place. You've destroyed the stereo. You've destroyed the furniture. Partying all night. The neighbors are complaining. They're calling the police. And he's got a little kid with him, too. The wife and the kid. And then the poor owner says, no, really, can you imagine this, Alan? And the poor owner says to you, hey, look, Alan, I can't do this anymore, man. You owe me $300,000 and you've destroyed my house. And your response to him is, well, my art's worth. It's worth about that much. So would you like a nice piece with my feces all over it? I can even sign it in my feces if you want to. Can you just, seriously, Alan, can you just imagine what that poor guy, you're like, are you serious? Yeah, you confront it, and he's like, yeah, I'm deadly serious. That's what my art is worth, and that's what my crap is worth. That's what my excrement is worth. Alan, what would you say to that guy?
I stand by what I said a moment ago.
Shove it back up where it came out of, huh? But I mean, it just shows you the narcissism. I mean, that's what I mean. This guy, honestly, Alan, he's not right in the head. I mean, you're talking about arrogance, hubris, entitlement, contempt for your fellow human beings. I mean, this is a sick, degenerate man. That's what he is. And that's what Biden pardoned. And by the way, when is he going to pay back all these people he owes in back rent? 9:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. 617-266-6868. Andy in Milford. Thanks for holding, Andy, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure, Andy.
Yeah. Hey, on this ongoing debate about annexing Canada,
yeah.
I can go with A. I can go with annexing Canada, provided that Canadians agree to two things. A, they renounce the crown, and B, no more government control of health care. And I suspect a lot of Canadians would have no problem agreeing to B.
They would agree to both A and B. I mean, outside of my wife, honestly, I've never met anyone in Canada who's genuinely fond of the monarchy, except for my wife. I swear to you. I don't understand this, but Grace, she is obsessed with the monarchy. She loves the British royal family. She thinks it's one of the greatest things about Canada. It's part of the Commonwealth. And to me, I've always been a small R Republican, Andy. I don't like monarchs. I don't like kings, queens. I don't like the whole bowing. I don't like them having billions of dollars and all these tax privileges. I don't like any of it. To me, it's an antiquated institution that we should have gotten rid of all over the world hundreds of years ago. But that's me, Andy. But I agree. I think most Canadians would take A, B, and join America in a heartbeat, Andy. I think most Canadians would say amen, brother.
Okay. Well, hey, moving on to the Hunter Biden pardon.
Sorry, Andy, just to back up 1 second. You kept saying A, and I thought you were like, that was a pun on the fact that Canadians, especially English Canadians, always finish their sentences with A. So I thought you were like, yeah, I'll only agree to Canadians joining the United States, A, if they stop saying A. But I digress. Go ahead. Yes, Hunter Biden and the pardon. Go ahead.
Okay. Outside of the Department of Justice, there's a statue of Lady Justice. She's holding the scale of justice. They're balanced. She also has a blindfold on her head. It's supposed to be equal justice under the law, irregardless of politics and even irregardless of rich or poor. And I think with this Hunter Biden pardon, what President Trump needs to do is, as soon as he's in office, and hopefully by then, Pam Bondi will have completely reviewed everything. Everybody who is sitting in a federal prison as a result of a politically motivated conviction out of the Biden Department of Justice, irregardless of what it is, if it's determined that conviction happened because they have a R sitting next to their name, or it happened because they're either a J6er, America Firster, or one of these pro-life grandmothers praying in front of an abortion clinic, they all get a complete unconditional presidential pardon. And that whole poisonous tree gets ripped right out, roots and branch. And we put that blindfold back on Lady Justice going forward, and we ensure it stays there. And
I love it. Andy, I love it. I'm going to tell you right now, I love it. And look, I think this needs to be said. You know, you have all these liberals and talking heads on CNN and MSNBC, and they're writing in the New York Times about how, Kash Patel is going to go after Trump's enemies, and this is political revenge and retribution, and the FBI, it's hollowed history. How could you possibly want to clean house at the FBI? Are these people on drugs? First of all, J. Edgar Hoover, the abuses at the FBI started with J. Edgar Hoover, almost from its inception. Just what they did to Martin Luther King alone. The eavesdropping, the surveillance, the spying. And then I don't know if you know about this, Andy, the so-called suicide package, the suicide bomb package that the Hoover and his cronies sent to Martin Luther King about pictures of his alleged infidelity. Basically saying, if you don't kill yourself, this is going to get to your wife, and we're going to let everybody know what you've been doing behind your wife's back. I mean, that's the kind of stuff the FBI was notorious for. So you go from J. Edgar Hoover to James Comey. It is dirty, dirty, dirty. That's number one. Number two, and this goes to your point, Andy. How many innocent people the FBI either put in jail or investigated? Literally, innocent Americans targeted, persecuted by the FBI. The Catholic Church. Apparently because churches are breeding grounds for terrorism. Parents who went in front of school board meetings because they're protesting critical race theory. Conservatives, Republicans, Trump supporters, grandmas praying in front of abortion clinics, being thrown in jail for 3, 4, 5 years. The J6ers, as you pointed out. What they have done is unleashed terror and a witch hunt upon countless Americans. And they all need to be pardoned. Every single one of them. If Hunter gets a pardon, and he's a real criminal, then they all get a pardon. And you're right. Break up the FBI. I think Kash Patel is dead on. Turn the Hoover building. In fact, I'm not into canceling names. You know me, I'm against cancel culture. But I swear to you, Andy, the one name I would take off a building is Hoover. I'm like, you still have his name up there? After everything we know about J. Edgar Hoover? Are you serious? Okay, but let that go. Empty out that building. Turn it into a museum. Fire at least half the people at the FBI. Just get rid of them. Get rid of the partisans. Get rid of the anti-Trump haters. Get rid of the Democrats and the rhinos who have politicized the FBI and turned it into a secret police. And if there are good people there, good law enforcement, good cops, then send them out into the states. Fentanyl, murders, rapes, gangs, human traffickers, sex traffickers. Go after real criminals and be cops again. But the days of, the FBI building in Washington, Kash Patel is completely right. 7,000 employees working at the FBI central headquarters in Washington. 7,000. What the hell are they all doing there? And that's why it's all about advancement, promotion, spying, surveillance, framing Trump as an agent of Russia when you know that's a lie. Lying about the Hunter Biden laptop, infiltrating the January 6th protest. We now know the FBI, that protest was riddled with FBI undercover operatives. There were operatives all over that protest. So, to me, all of this needs to be exposed, unmasked, and most of those people should be fired or go to prison. It's time to clean house. And that's what I love about Kash Patel, Andy. He's a wrecking ball. And that's what you need for the FBI and that building and that institution. It's like the KGB. If you want to clean up the KGB, you have to get someone from outside the KGB. It's the same thing with the FBI. You want to clean out the FBI, you got to get someone like Cash outside the FBI. Final word to you, Andy.
Agree with everything, Jeff, 1,000%. And final word, this is just a little shout out to Cash Patel if he's listening. All the serious crimes that Antifa committed back in 2020 during the Summer of Love, the statute of limitations has not run out on that. And of course, it doesn't run out on murder. He should go after and prosecute all of them. And if he plays his cards right, he can get those useful idiots to turn on all the billionaires that funded that nefarious activity, that dropped pallets of bricks at various points in major cities so they could pick them up and throw them through windows. It would be a win-win.
Oh, amen. Andy, you are on fire today, my friend. Outstanding call. Outstanding. Look, and let me just add this very quickly. If Cash is listening, I would ban Antifa. And I'll tell you why I'd ban them. Because they're a violent, revolutionary terrorist organization. They openly call for the violent overthrow of the American government and the entire American political, constitutional, and economic system. So just like we consider Hezbollah or Hamas or so many other groups, Al-Qaeda, as, terrorist organizations, the same applies to Antifa. So not only should you go after them for what happened in the summer of 2020, I agree. I would say if you're a member of Antifa, you are part of a violent, revolutionary terrorist organization that is now banned in the United States. And if you continue to be part of Antifa, your ass is going to jail. 9:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. David in Watertown. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Thank you. If a man with an AK-47 decided to shoot up a shopping mall, he could kill about 12 people, a dozen people. But a man who was a traitor in the White House can hurt a lot more people. So Biden's treason has to be taken very, very seriously. This would require some legislation in Congress. Now, the Republican Party has had some trouble with rhinos like Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski. Question, are there any moderate Democrats in Congress who are willing to put country above their own party and vote yes on legislation sponsored by Republicans in Congress?
David, I think you're not going to find any Democrats. I mean, sad to say. And look, David, my sense is I could be wrong, but I'm just going by what many people in the media are now saying. Biden now may just be beginning with the pardons. This is just maybe the first of many to come. He may want to pardon other family members. He may want to pardon himself. It's obvious now he is petrified that not only of Trump coming back to power, but the people he's loading himself up with. Pam Bondi is not to be toyed with. Kash Patel is serious as a heart attack. Tulsi Gabbard, John Ratcliffe. I mean, I could go on and on. Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy. They're not there to play with the swamp. They're not there to go along to get along. They are very, very serious about draining that swamp. And Biden knows he and his family are, I'm talking neck deep in bribery, in corruption, in kickbacks, in money laundering. The whole family, that is a crime family. That is, what we're talking about is organized crime. It's a syndicate. It's a criminal syndicate. And it's not just the Bidens. It goes right across Washington, D.C., and it affects both parties. And that's why they're very worried. See, David, the big advantage we have now, and Jason Miller said this, one of Trump's top advisors. He said, look, I'm telling you, I was with Trump in the first rodeo when he won in 2016. It took us forever to put a cabinet together. We didn't know. He didn't know. He hadn't spent a lot of time in Washington. Trump was a political newcomer, a complete outsider. He didn't know who to trust. He didn't know who to believe. He was dependent to some extent on Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell. He was duped by them. He took their word for things, and they betrayed him. And so he didn't have the people that he needed or wanted in key positions. Now, after 4 years in the White House, and after 4 years of being on the receiving end of all of this lawfare and this persecution and harassment, he knows exactly where the skeletons are. He knows exactly who he can trust, who he can't trust. And, I mean, David, I have never seen a cabinet put together this well, this thoroughly, this quickly. So my sense is this, David. The campaign wasn't the war. The campaign was only the first battle. Trump now is really, this is my prediction. His inaugural speech is going to be the greatest speech that Donald Trump has ever delivered. And what he's going to tell the American people is, get ready for all-out political, ideological war. Because I am here to destroy the deep state. And they are not going to go quietly into the good night. And I think he's going to point to Joe Biden and other presidents around him. And he's going to say, I'm sorry, but the corruption goes all the way to the top, including the people right behind me. And I think he's going to put everybody on notice. This is going to be a different Trump administration. We are here to clean house. And so if he does this, he will be the most successful transformational president since Abraham Lincoln. So I agree with you, David. He's going to have to go after it with everything he has. He can't flinch. He can't relent. He has to go for the jugular because they are not going to go quietly into the good night. David, we're talking trillions of dollars in wealth, trillions of dollars in corruption, immense, vast power. This is an empire. Think Star Wars, Darth Vader, okay, the dark side. This is an empire that they have built up over many, many, many decades. And they're not going to let it go, at least not without a fight. And if you notice, that's why Trump is picking warriors for his cabinet. He wants someone who's not just qualified, smart, intelligent, capable. He wants someone with the heart, the steel, the backbone to see this thing through to the end. What say you, David?
We've already had one traitor in the White House. In December 2011, Commander-in-Chief Obama ordered the U.S. Air Force to fly a drone aircraft that is used for surveillance. He ordered it to fly near Iran. Now, Iran has good defenses, including
David, I'm up against it. Obama sold America out to Iran. What Ukraine is to Biden, Iran is to Obama. And that's why I'm hoping that Trump goes after Biden, because if he goes after Biden, he can go after Obama. I gotta go. Bye-bye.